Is Miami about to become Packers South? You have to look at the writing on the wall. We just hired the Packers defensive coordinator as our head coach and their longtime executive as our GM. So naturally, everyone is connecting the dots to one specific quarterback. If you're a Dolphins fan, you need to hit that like button and subscribe right now, because this offseason is about to get absolutely wild, and we are covering every single move. Let's be real for a second. We are staring at a complete transformation of this franchise. With Jeff Hafley coming in as the new head coach and Jon-Eric Sullivan taking over as general manager, the Miami Dolphins are effectively importing the Green Bay Packers brain trust. Sullivan has been inside that Green Bay organization for over 20 years. Hafley has been running their defense for the last 2. They know that roster inside and out. And that is exactly why the rumors are flying that Malik Willis, yes, the backup quarterback to Jordan Love, might be the next starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. It sounds crazy at first, right? But think about it. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler is already reporting that league executives are whispering about this. When he polled NFL insiders on where Malik Willis lands in free agency, the two teams that kept coming up were the Cleveland Browns and the Miami Dolphins. And let's be honest, the Browns have their own situation to deal with. But Miami, it makes too much sense. Fowler wrote that no regime will know Malik Willis's strengths better than Miami, specifically because we just hired the guys who watched him develop every single day in practice. They valued his development in Green Bay, and now Miami could be the team that bears the fruit of that labor. But I have to ask you, does it actually make sense to hand the keys of the franchise over to a guy who has been a backup just because our new coaches know him? Is familiarity enough to bet your job on? Malik Willis is an incredibly intriguing option, I'll give you that. We saw him play full-time snaps in 2 games this past season, Week 16 at Chicago and Week 17 against the Ravens, and honestly, he looked legit. I'm not just saying he looked like a capable backup. He looked like a top 10 quarterback in the league during that stretch. He was efficient. He didn't turn the ball over, and we finally saw that dual threat package we've been hearing about since he was drafted. He has the arm, he has the legs, and for 2 weeks, he put it all together. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's 2 games, Nick. You can't base a franchise decision on 2 games. And you're right. It is a frighteningly small sample size. But if you look at the advanced metrics from those starts, completion percentage over expected paired with EPA per play, Malik Willis was in a tier of his own. He outperformed almost every starter in the league for that brief window. Granted, the Bears and Ravens weren't exactly the 85 Bears defensively, but the Bears made the divisional round and the Ravens were a field goal away from the postseason. These weren't scrub teams. Willis went out there and executed. If you are looking for a high upside swing, this is where you start. But is it the best option for Miami? That depends entirely on who Hafley hires as the offensive coordinator. If they bring in someone who runs a system that requires a different skill set, then Willis is a square peg in a round hole. But if they bring in a system that caters to his mobility, suddenly this gets very interesting. The biggest hurdle, however, isn't talent. It's money. And this is where things get scary for us as fans. We need to have a serious, painful conversation about the salary cap. I don't know if you've looked at the numbers lately, but it is ugly. A week ago, we were talking about being $23 million in the hole. Now, if you look at over the cap, the Dolphins are projected to be over $30 million over the cap for 2026. Somehow, we lost another $7 million in space without playing a game. I don't know how the math works on that, but the reality is the same. We are broke. If we want to sign Malik Willis, or literally anyone else, we have to clear a massive amount of space. And the only way to do that is by saying goodbye to some players that we absolutely love. This isn't just trimming the fat. This is cutting into the muscle. We could cut Tua post-June 1st. You could keep him as a very expensive backup, sure, but I think the team ultimately moves on. If you cut him post-June 1st, you actually go up $11 million in dead money initially, which hurts. But look at the other names. If you cut Tyreek Hill post-June 1st, you save $35 million. Let that sink in. Cutting the most dynamic weapon in football saves you $35 million. Bradley Chubb, cutting him post-June 1st saves you $20 million. Austin Jackson, $11 million. If you pull the trigger on all of these moves, cutting Hill, Chubb, Jackson, and a few others, you could go from $30 million in the hole to $31 million in positive cap space. You create a $60 million swing. But at what cost? You are gutting the roster. And even if you do that, is $31 million enough? You might say, of course it is. Malik Willis is only projected to get like 10 or 12 million. But you have to sign your draft class. You have to sign a linebacker, a safety, a corner, an edge rusher, and offensive lineman. If you give Willis $12 million, you are left with less than $20 million to fill out the entire rest of the roster. That is impossible. It is virtually impossible to field a competitive team with that math. So, here is the question of the day for you guys, and I really want you to sound off in the comments section because this is the debate that is going to define our next 5 years. Who is your QB1 for Miami in 2026? Do you blow up the roster to sign Malik Willis? Do you trade for a veteran? Or do you pray a rookie falls to us in the draft? Let me know the specific name you want under center in the comments below. When you look at the financial projection for Willis, Spotrac has him pegged at a 1-year, $10.5 million deal. That feels fair. It's the prove-it starter money. We saw Daniel Jones get it. We saw Sam Darnold get $14 million from the Vikings a few years ago, and that worked out great for them. But the difference is, Darnold and Jones were top 10 picks who had started for years. Malik Willis was a day 2 pick who has started, 3 or 4 games in his career. A better comparison might be Davis Mills. He got a 1-year, $7 million extension to back up C.J. Stroud. So maybe Willis lands somewhere in the middle, around $10 million. But there are people like Dan Orlovsky at ESPN suggesting Willis could command 2 years and $45 million because of his upside. If that is the price tag, Miami is out. We simply cannot afford that. So if free agency is too expensive, what about the draft? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you are hoping to fix the quarterback position in the 2026 draft, you are going to be disappointed. Fernando Mendoza is going number 1 overall. We have 0 chance of getting him unless we trade the farm, which we can't afford to do. After Mendoza, it is a wasteland. There is nobody I am writing home about. You have names like Trinidad Chambliss, Ty Simpson, Drew Aller, Taylon Green, Sawyer Robertson. Are any of those guys day 1 starters? No, absolutely not. Trinidad Chambliss has a cool story transferring from D2, but is he an NFL starter right now? I wouldn't bet my job on it. I'm not taking Ty Simpson at pick 11. Maybe in the 2nd round, you take a flyer on one of these guys, but you cannot go into the season with a 2nd-round rookie and Quinn Ewers as your only options. That leaves us with the trade market. And honestly, this is the only path that makes sense to me. There are a handful of legit, starting-caliber quarterbacks who are making less than $8 million this season. You could acquire one of these guys for a day 3 pick, a 4th or 5th rounder, and plug them in immediately. Look at the options. Mac Jones is making about $4 million. He's going to get a chance to start somewhere. Davis Mills is making $7 million. If the Texans are willing to move him, he's a very capable starter. Jameis Winston would be a wild ride, but he's cheap and he can throw the rock. Tanner McKee is another guy I've always liked who just needs an opportunity. And then there is the wild card, Anthony Richardson. The former 1st-round pick hasn't lived up to the hype yet, and he's not making a ton of money. He has all the arm talent in the world. Could Jeff Hafley and this new staff believe they are the ones to fix him? Bringing in Anthony Richardson to compete with Quinn Ewers is a low-risk, high-reward move that fits our budget perfectly. I am going to keep saying this all off-season. A trade is the best path forward. The draft class is weak. Free agency is too expensive for our cap situation. But trading a late-round pick for a guy like Mac Jones, Tanner McKee, or even Jameis Winston allows us to field a competent team without gutting the roster to pay Malik Willis $15 million. We have to be smart. We have to be realistic about our money. And we have to trust that Sullivan and Hafley have a plan that doesn't involve bankrupting the team for a backup quarterback, no matter how well they know him. It is going to be a long, stressful offseason, but that is why we love this game. We are going to see some fan favorites leave. We are going to see new faces arrive. And by September, this team is going to look completely different. Whether it's Willis, Richardson, or someone we haven't even thought of yet, the Packers South era has officially begun in Miami. I want to know what you think. Is the Malik Willis connection real? Or is it just lazy reporting? Do we cut Tyreek to make space? Let me know. I'll be back tomorrow with more updates because the news never stops. Stay tuned.